Welcome to another investigation from Project Blue Book. We have seen a sudden rise in sightings of unidentified flying objects in New Jersey since the 18th of November, and these have spread into other states as far away as Arizona, Florida, and California. From the start, the government has tried to distance itself from commenting on these sightings, but over the last 2 days there has been a flurry of activity as a number of politicians took to the media to try and calm the situation down. However, their explanations were widely seen as ridiculous and have reduced our faith in politicians once again and only made the situation worse. But we now know that the FBI and Homeland Security were immediately assigned to investigate this issue. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas said that the federal government has deployed additional resources, personnel, and technology to assist the state police in drone investigation.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
And we now know that that has come up with no explanation for the drones. On the 26th of November, there was the first briefing on the subject by Air Force Major Pat Ryder at the Pentagon. However, he only mentions what is happening in the UK because the UK had started to see similar incidents from the 20th of November, and he largely ignores what is happening in the US. Why?
What I would tell you, Jennifer, is that they are being actively monitored. Installation leaders have determined so far that none of these incursions impact the base residents, the facilities, or the assets that we have on those bases. We're, of course, continuing to work with host nation authorities and our mission partners to ensure the safety of our personnel, our facilities, and the equipment. The bottom line is it's something that we're going to take seriously. We're continuing to look into it, but as of right now has not had any significant mission impact.
Why not shoot them down?
Well, I won't get into force protection measures. We, of course, always maintain the right to defend ourselves if we deem something to be a threat. But again, we'll continue to work with the local host nation authorities there.
Do you think it's linked to the drones that were cited or 3 or 4 different locations back in December of last year that we reported on recently on stateside?
Yeah, I don't want to speculate and draw unnecessary connections. Again, this is something that we'll look into. But in terms of these particular incidents in the UK versus the ones in the States, again, I don't want to speculate that there's any connection.
They don't appear to be those of hobbyists. Is that correct?
Again, it would be, premature to draw any conclusion.
On the 10th of December, a clearly reluctant White House press secretary, Karine Jean-Pierre, responded to questions from reporters about the drones.
So we are certainly aware, the president is aware, so we're closely tracking the activity and coordinating closely with relevant agencies, including DHS and FBI.
On the 12th of December, Senators Chuck Schumer, Kirsten Gillibrand, and Cory Booker wrote a letter to federal officials calling for action. We write with urgent concern regarding the unmanned aerial system activity that has affected communities across New York and New Jersey in recent days. It went on to state that the drones have been observed near critical infrastructure and sensitive locations, including reservoirs and military installations. Now, what we now know is that this includes the Picatinny Arsenal, Wright-Patterson Air Base, and Earl Naval Base, which are home to some of the most sophisticated military tech in the world. New Jersey Senator Andy Kim posted on YouTube and told reporters that people deserve answers. We don't need conspiracy theories or conjecture. We need assurances that the people charged with keeping us safe are on top of this issue, and a line of communication so that people feel their government is taking this seriously. Now, he is absolutely right. The trouble is, nobody communicated from the government. Major media outlets like ABC and Fox continue to publish what are clearly videos of commercial aircraft as examples of these drones. Now, this is either lazy journalism or deliberate misinformation intended to dismiss the real sightings. A good journalist would identify where the video was shot, compare the image with those of known aircraft, look at any flight paths in the area, and use sites such as Flight Radar 24 to see if those sightings correspond to known aircraft. On Friday the 13th of December, the issue becomes political and immediately escalates the story in the media. Donald Trump enters the controversy by calling out the lack of clarity from the government and challenging them to let the public know and now. Otherwise, shoot them down. Wright-Patterson, which is one of the largest and most important air bases and home to 38,000 staff, was shut down for several hours due to unidentified craft in its airspace. So this is a significant military installation that allegedly has been put out of action by drones that are flown legally and lawfully.
Wright-Patterson Air Force just outside of Dayton, and that's when the Air Force Base had to shut down its airspace for several hours while officials worked to figure out exactly what was going on. But at that same exact time, an airport in New York had to shut down because of similar drone sightings. At this point, it's unclear whether the sightings are related, but lawmakers are pushing federal officials to do something to make sure the American people are safe.
Patterson Tower, Med Flight 8, 1,900 feet, about 7 miles southwest of the field, like transition your Delta northeastbound.
Med Flight 8 Patterson Tower, use extreme caution for heavy UAS movement on the base. Security forces is handling the situation. Suggest at or above 1,700 AGL.
That we will maintain 2,000 and on our transition for Med Flight 8.
And I gotta keep the lights down so that security forces can see. Yes, sir. Your transition is still approved. However, Patterson Class Delta is sterilized as of 0330 Zulu for heavy unknown UAS activity. Security forces is handling it, and Columbus is going to sterilize the airspace after you leave the Delta.
Roger that. No problem. Thank you.
All aircraft use extreme caution. Patterson Class Delta is now closed for heavy UAS activity.
For me, the 13th of December was when it all changed. Trump has seized the opportunity to make this a political issue, criticising the Biden administration for withholding information and also taking a swipe at the FBI, which Trump has long said he wants to dismantle. Kash Patel is Trump's nominee for FBI director.
I'd shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one and reopening it the next day as a museum of the deep state.
14th of December. The Joint Chiefs of Staff are clearly rattled and they issue a press release. To date, we have no intelligence or observations that would indicate that they are aligned with a foreign actor or that they have had a malicious intent. But we don't know. We have not been able to locate or identify the operators or the points of origin. So, the Pentagon, the White House, the FBI, the Department of Home Security have all said that they do not know what these drones are, but not to worry. However, some people are worried. And Chris Smith, who represents New Jersey's 4th District, has stated that a major military power is behind the sightings.
Elusive maneuvering of these drones, I would suggest a major military power sophistication that begs the question whether they have been deployed to test our defense capabilities, or worse, by violent dictatorships, perhaps maybe Russia or China or Iran or North Korea.
On the 16th of December, Admiral John Kirby of the National Security Committee tells reporters there has been an investigation and that not to worry.
The government knows what is happening. we do have a good sense of what's happening. I actually don't disagree with him in that regard. I mean, we've been looking at this very, very hard. And as you saw in the joint statement last night from 4 different federal agencies, our assessment to date, based on the information that we've seen, the people we've talked to, the tips we've corroborated, this is lawful, legal aviation activity, manned and unmanned, drones, civil aviation. We've seen nothing that leads us to a different conclusion.
Well, many people would disagree with John on that. For instance, how would he explain this? Or this? Admiral Kirby goes on to say that the experienced crew of a US Coast Guard cutter can't identify commercial jets flying into JFK. The Coast Guard had reported 50 drones that were not tracked by aircraft control rising out of the sea and heading inland. So clearly, the White House statement is complete rubbish. The Pentagon and the FBI have already stated that it was unlawful activity, as no drones are allowed near Picatinny Arsenal or any other military base. If Fox News or anyone else believes the Admiral is correct, then they should do a live broadcast while flying over Wright-Patterson Air Force Base and see how long they last. 17th of December, Trump's toned his rhetoric down a bit. He responds to questions about reporters about the drones. But he doubles down in saying the government knows what is happening. Our military knows where they took off from. Well, he may be right. The US has the most advanced military technology in the world. Satellites, surveillance aircraft with advanced radar and imaging systems that can record video and infrared in all weather conditions.
Lockheed Martin's electro-optical targeting system for the F-35 Lightning II offers pilots superior air-to-ground and air-to-air targeting and surveillance. EOTS provides the warfighter with high-resolution imagery, automatic tracking, laser spot tracking, laser designation, and range finding. It's the world's first sensor that combines FLIR and IRST.
So the Pentagon have lots of high-definition video, infrared, and radar data about the objects flying over New Jersey. So why do they insist that they don't know what they are? The political pressure is mounting. Trump clearly isn't going to let this go. So the Biden administration and the FBI had to respond. Their continual claim that the drones were not a threat, but that they couldn't confirm what they were, was no longer good enough. People were scared and needed answers. So, cue Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano. He posted a picture of what he claimed to be a crashed drone as evidence. Can anybody recognize this? You guessed. It was actually a TIE fighter from the Star Wars movies. Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut last week called for the drones to be shot down, echoing calls from Trump and other politicians. Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh has repeatedly said the aircraft are not US military drones. So what could they be? Well, somebody thinks he has the answer. And we now come to the nuclear option. Mayor Michael Melham spoke to Fox News on 17th of December.
The administration knows what's going on. Our government knows what's going on. You're the mayor of Bellevue. What do you know?
We know very little. About 6 days ago, there was an unprecedented briefing with every single mayor in the state of New Jersey, along with every member of our state legislature. We learned exactly at that time what the state knows, which was very little. Since then, information has not been forthcoming. And it's this lack of transparency, in my opinion, that's doing nothing but fueling conspiracy theories online.
Do you have any idea what it could be? Or which side it could be, where it's coming from?
Yeah, I can tell you what it's not. We know for a fact it's not little green men, and more than likely it's not a foreign adversary, because they would be able to figure out how to turn off the blinking lights. These drones are huge. We had a mayor yesterday on the call with the White House telling them that he had 6-foot drones hovering over his house, yet they continue to tell us we don't know what we're talking about. It's misidentification. Certainly there's some misidentification probably going on, but I could assure you that we are seeing drones in New Jersey all over the place. So here's what I know. I know that we were told by our state police that we have assets over our critical infrastructure. Now, depending on your point of view, that's either concerning or comforting. I think it's comforting because it's probably us listening and watching. We also know that we have drones that are flying in a grid-like pattern. In my opinion, they're looking for something. What might they be looking for? Well, potentially, we're aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing on December 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and was empty.
And that's right about the time that the drone sightings began, right?
Yeah, drone sightings began about 4 weeks ago.
Okay.
This seems to be on the back of a Reddit post by a drone manufacturer who suggested the same thing a few days earlier. However, this theory is easily discounted, and the mayor actually contradicts himself in the interview. He told us that the nuclear material went missing on the 2nd of December, but said this coincided with the drone sightings over the last 4 weeks. So, sorry, could somebody explain how drones could be looking for radioactive material on the 18th of November when that material wasn't lost until the 2nd of December? Now, I know Fox News is about as useful a source of news as the National Enquirer, but this really treats us all as idiots. ABC have carried out an investigation and found that the missing material has actually been recovered by FedEx and has now been delivered successfully. A Department of Energy spokesman said, "The Department of Energy and National Nuclear Security Administration's Nuclear Emergency Support Team does not employ drones for nuclear radiological detection missions and is not currently conducting any aerial operations in that region." So, why are our politicians lying to us and making a bad situation worse? Well, here's why. This person is clearly frightened by something they don't understand, and they are trying to destroy it regardless of the fact they are in a residential neighbourhood and the object may actually be a helicopter or plane with people inside it. They also have no thought about where these bullets are going to fall. So what started as a few curious people reporting mysterious lights in the sky from 18th of November has turned into a major cause of concern. The reason for this is the military, Homeland Security, the FBI, the Pentagon, the White House and the government have told us that they don't know what these objects are, and they shouldn't be over our bases. But not to worry, there's nothing to see here. It's all perfectly lawful. Clearly, they all know much more than they are telling us, because they have radar, infrared, and high-quality video of these craft. So why the secrecy? Well, if they really don't know what's going on and are powerless to stop it, then we have one of the biggest threats to our national security ever, because it appears we can't stop unknown craft from flying over nuclear bases. If the government do know what's going on, and these craft aren't from Earth, then there's an even bigger problem. This means we are at the mercy of a civilization that is technologically far superior to us. It also means that our governments and military have been lying to us and are no longer the ultimate power. The end result is people will lose faith in the government and our institutions and take matter into our own hands, just like the person in this video. We need our political leaders to tell us the truth and keep control of the situation. When are they going to do it?